Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, September the 9th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and we're starting with SPY. We can see that my suspicions for what we should have happening is happening. Tough to navigate still if you're an intraday trader. Now, why is that? Because the spikes and this volatility intraday is showing up and doing really tremendously difficult things if we get in too early and we're holding for a trend in a particular direction. Here is the big picture. And let me go to the VIX very quickly. As you remember, I don't know why that says M, but let's just try VIX. Yeah, okay. So as you remember, I may have told you a little while back that the VIX has a tendency to peak in the early part of the day, right? And particularly September, we're looking at this sort of thing. So notice this day, on September the 4th, the VIX bottomed and didn't peak until late in the day, all right? Here, it peaks, it bottoms again into the open, and then peaks towards the middle of the day. Last Friday, peaks towards the middle of the day. This is normal, right? But when the VIX peaks, we will see a bottoming occur in price action, right? So if we go back, and then here, of course, it bottomed out for just a little bit and then took straight off. So we have to be very careful and make sure we're staring down trend at the same time, because that is supremely important as I get myself resituated in my chair. I know you can hear me moving around. All right, so here we go. What are we looking for today? A lot of the option traders are positioning for lower values, and this, of course, is a gap that may or may not fill. We just tested the VWAP of Friday just a moment ago, and we might be in a little bit of a quiet state until the Fed comes in next week. But we also have CPE. Let's see what we have coming. I'll use Econo Day here, and we will see that CPI and PPI are going to be the interesting things this week on the horizon, and CPI doesn't come until Wednesday. So we could have a little back and forth, which is my thought, right? We've lost the VWAP of the range, so we're headed into very likely the point of control where all this regular volume is and essentially the value area low. This is what the option chains are suggesting happens. So what do we want to do as traders? Well, one, we want to pay attention. And pre-market, we are looking on the 30-minute chart at this hold at 544 or so, right? 544.80. If we breach that area, this is the low volume node that we are currently seeing in the chart. And this range that it just flew right through actually happens to be the VWAP of note. And so we could easily bounce into this area, collapse into this area, bounce into the area, collapse into the area. So my thought is ping pong action. Above 544, we've got ourselves the value area high all the way up at 550. We collapsed dramatically on Friday. We could see a reflexive bounce that gives all of that back just because we really aren't going anywhere. We're just pretending like we're going somewhere, okay? So that's just something that we have to think about. So here is last week. The 50% range of this candlestick is about 550, right? And so we should be coming up to test that in a reflexive bounce, which will give us another big wick, and then, potentially another fade. If the bounce gets very dramatic, we'll head up to 554, and then we'll come down and try and test this area again. I do believe that we're setting up for a very sideways formation that could work off a lot of the poor structure in the market. And although it's annoying to trade, it's a good thing for the market to just chop and chop and chop and chop so that all the bad stuff gets leaked out. That's just a natural thing that we like to see, even though it's a pain in the neck to trade. All right, so here we are. This 544, if we lose this 544 area, my suspicion is that 537, which was last Friday's VWAP close, and then 531 being our next area, right? Bounces are sell zones in this environment, but as we note, these wicks can get very, 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 did I mention very, very long and aggressive. So we must collapse down into the tighter time frames to figure out what's going on. I'm going to be good to the ETF traders today and take care of them first. I don't have any idea why I mix it up sometimes. I really don't. It's just what I'm called to do. And so here we are. This one looks terrible. Also, gamma flows showing these formations that are shifting down. Gamma flows come to me from the amazing folks at Mentor Q, Italian company, but incredibly well run. They live in Miami, and it's just incredible. So these edges right here that we're seeing that are in shades are where all the option traders are sitting, okay? And you can see they're sitting below us. A lot of them are sitting below us, particularly on the ES here. The NQ has already done a fair bit of collapsing. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to 18,000 this week. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Momentum certainly says that you better watch out. We could have downside action. All right. So thanks to Mentor Q for allowing me to share that data. But folks, have a look there. It's just tremendous. Just tremendous. So here we go. Here's a high that became support. So old resistance becomes support, becomes resistance again, then becomes support again. So it's a pretty big level. They're sitting at around 450 right now. 448, 450 is the big fat round number. And so if they cannot get above that 450 zone, we're going to collapse into 444, 439, and then 423. I think they're headed down here to 390. Now, how they get there, I'm not sure, and chances are they're going to take NVIDIA with them. So that, until we figure out what in the world the SEC's got up their sleeve with NVIDIA, that's going to be tricky walking. All right, so let's take a look at the daily formations in the QQQ. We can see we came down, lowered below the 450 area, and now sitting right above it. I thought this is the do or die zone, right? Heavy congestion here. They need to hold, I say it's not even 450. I honestly think if they cannot get up over 453, which they've gapped up into 50% of that move, they can't get up over there, we're going to see a collapse. So holding up over 453.50 sends us to 457, into the VWAP, and then potentially even 465. I do expect a reflexive bounce. I don't know how strong it's going to be. I just don't know. And we've got, who do we have reporting? We have somebody reporting that's got a little bit of oomph, and I can't remember. Maybe it's Broadcom. I don't know. But underneath this area, 453, if we collapse, and I use the collapse just, I mean, we're not going to do any collapsing per se. It's just a natural fade. This is good behavior for a market. We've got 446, 444, and then this 439 on first approach. Again, if we get above 453, we've got 457, 460, and then 465. All right, now for the meat. Here we are with the ES. We are currently at 54.47. If we take a look at the weekly formations, we can see this one not jumping as high as the ETFs this morning at all, but really having trouble up at this 54.64 that we'd seen in times past. And then, of course, this 55.02. Now, 50% range of last week's candlestick is going to put us at about 55.37, but there's no real, well, there's a little bit of congestion there. There's a little bit of congestion there. Let's move this one up to the 55.30-ish zone, and then we'll see what it looks like on the daily chart, right? But we can see that we're developing this sideways pressure, still a ton of upside momentum. It's a reversion to the mean. The point of control is down here at 52.97. We broke it savagely. Look at how the buyers came in. Just jammed it, right? Came right in, several weeks passed, and now here we are looking at another sideways attempt that could potentially get down here again. I don't know. Reflexive bounce, first thing, they're already up 50% of Friday's move. So if it's a reflexive bounce, they're going to get up over 54.64 and then head into 55.20. All right? If we cannot get up over 54.64, we're going to go down here at 54.35. That area either holds or it doesn't. And if it doesn't hold, we're going to head back into 53.97, 53.76. That is a gamma level, pretty important. And then we're going to use this as 53.29 as that next line in the sand that gives us a little bit of heavy congestion. And then potentially we'll see what the week ends if we can bounce into this area and then lift. That's 52.50 and a half. Very interesting price action events in general. I say keep your eyes on that VIX. It's becoming more and more important intraday. Price action is becoming very attached to the VIX, so you better have it up on your chart to have a look at it and make sure that you are trending with price in the opposite direction that the VIX is going. All right, so here we are with the NQ. Take a look at the weekly. Same sort of thing. Point of control nearby, 17,934. Now, very interestingly, spot NAS and the futures in NASDAQ, they've been like 200 points apart for a fair bit of time. So I'm not quite sure what's going on right there, but here we have this fade. We're sitting underneath the moving average. That's up. So a downward moving average would say essentially easy continuation to the downside. An upward moving average says the break of the moving average. Traders will come in, try to find an area that they agree on as value and bounce from the zone. To me, it looks like 18,369 is that formation. And so now we're looking at 17,966 all the way down to 17,000, I don't know, 300 or something. 17,390, thereabouts. Value area low all the way down at 16,809, right? Now, the contrarian bounce, which is sideways, is what we are looking for here. So what we want to see is that it holds the base, 18,390, it breaches the pre-market high, and then continues to ride upward. That's going to be very, very important, okay? We can see that the value area low is sort of putting a line in the sand there, so we might have 70 or 80 points to the upside, maybe even a couple hundred if it comes back into this heavy congestion, but bounces are still sell zones, folks. No doubt about it. The price action is very nasty, but if you've got the VIX over off to the side, it'll tell you match your levels, watch the VIX, and then take the trade according to what the undercurrent of the market is telling you. All right, let's take a look at the YM. Everybody's really following in tandem. They're just not doing it. The cord between them is not tight, but they are in tandem. So what are we looking at here? A topping formation. So I'm going to say that's the high. I'm going to say we don't head higher. But how will I be wrong? I'm going to get up over value area high at 41,121. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to hold above 40,600. And then I'm going to break 41,659. Whenever you build a premise for what you are trading, you must consider what it will look like if you're wrong. Because when you're wrong and it shows up, you have to be willing to go, I'm wrong, I got to get out of here. Or else, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle, essentially. So you've got to be prepared to say, all right, if I'm wrong, what's it look like? Okay? So my thoughts are upward formations, deep dips are going to be buy zones. And so this is the first deep dip coming into heavy congestion of the week. Here's that VWAP closing the week just above. That's where it bounced from. And now we're sitting at the VWAP from last week as the resistance zone. So what do we think? Well, if we push up over 40,000, this 40,670, it's going to try and get to the value area of 41,109. If not, it will fade, and then we will lose 40,325 and then collapse into 39,583. Okay? That's what we're looking at. Simple. We've got to take a look at these charts in the most simple formations. And right now, it's a mosh pit. Up, down, up, down. So it has no real trend that we can say, all right, this is what I'm doing. But closer, we can go, all right, my big bounces have been sell zones. So I'm going to still look there for selling pressure, potentially all the way up at 41,181. And once it gets up there, I'll see what my downside action looks like. If you're going to take the counter trend formation, you've got to collapse into something tighter, like a 30-minute, that shows a trend moving in this direction. So you go, okay, I'm going to wait until it comes in and gets close to my volatility bands. Old resistance, new support. I'm going to take it long and walk it up the rails so that I am watching something in a fair trend that I can trade. All right? That's it for me. Not going to go over oil and gold today. I'll see you at midday on the Benzinga Pro Zoom meeting for members. Take care, everybody.